Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne production. Available on Apple Podcasts and PodcastOne.
The Steve Austin Show is brought to you free today by our friends at betonline.ag. Major League Baseball season might be over, but the sports betting action just keeps on coming. The latest odds on the NFL, NHL, NBA, MMA, and college football are yours for the taking. Get in the mix at betonline.ag and use the promo code PodcastOne for your 50% welcome bonus. betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts and exclusive partner of PodcastOne Sportsnet.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. I am coming to you from the Broken Skull Ranch out here in my shop. I'm over here at the headquarters where I do my podcasting from. It's good to be out here in Nevada. I've been riding my buggies around, enjoying the mountain, and the weather's kind of shifting in. It gets cold in the evening, and normally during the middle of the day, it's just perfect riding temperature. So I'm enjoying riding my buggies. Got a new KRX 1000 from Kawasaki, and that thing is amazing. So it's all good. We're going to be here for another couple of days before we head back to the mean streets of Los Angeles, California, and get back to work. Man, as I record the open of this podcast, it is Saturday afternoon. This is football Saturday. And next weekend, it's going to get even better because LSU Tigers, I think they're number 1 ranked, and Alabama Crimson Tide, ranked number 2, are going to go toe-to-toe in the Southeast Conference. That is going to be one hell of a game. Of course, everybody knows I'm an Alabama Crimson Tide fan. Really like what Nick Saban has done there. On the other side, I've always enjoyed the LSU Tigers, where Nick Saban won a national championship a couple of years back. Ed Orgeron got that job a couple of years ago, and I remember talking on the podcast saying, hey, man, congratulations to Ed. And a lot of people emailed me and said, oh, Steve, he's not going to do any good. Well, he is doing some good, so that is going to be a tough-ass game. Coach Orgeron has those guys coached up. They've got a lot of talent, as they always do. So does Alabama. It's just going to be a barn burner that I'm looking forward to. But anyway, been in there watching different football games, fix to go back and flip through. Tonight is also UFC night, man. Tonight is UFC 244, and this is Masvidal versus Diaz in the BMF match. And I think The Rock's going to be there to put the belt on whoever wins that fight. And it looks like a pretty good card, but it looks like a real good card. But they're fighting out of Madison Square Garden there in New York City. So that's a really cool factor. It's going to be interesting to see and hear that crowd. And this is, I think, the UFC's illustrious 500th live event. So congrats to the UFC. I'm looking forward to see this fight. As you listen to this podcast, the fight will have already happened, and we will see who The Rock ended up putting the BMF belt on. That's what I got going on down here, man. Just charging batteries, taking care of some chores, relaxing. Had some good news come my way the other day. I'll pass that along to you as soon as I get clearance to pass it along to you. But everything is good. And I tell you what, I've been listening to a lot of music since I've been out here. And one of my favorite guys going these days is on the country music scene is a guy named Cody Jinks. Now, Cody Jinks has been around for a while. He used to be in like a heavy metal, thrash metal band based out of Dallas, Fort Worth for a while, where he's from. He went out to L.A. for a little bit, and that didn't go so good. And they starved to death. They were paying dues like we're going to talk about in the podcast. And he headed back to Texas, where he took off for about a year in the music business. And then he started back up, playing the stuff he grew up listening to and writing country music songs. Everything he wrote was country. So anyway, all these years later, I guess I've been following Cody and listening to his music for the last, couple years. You heard me talk about it on the podcast. And Cody and I got in contact with each other. And every now and then we'll call or talk or text each other. And it's not very often. I don't talk or text with too many people anyway. And Cody's always out there on the road, and he's busy as hell. But I absolutely love his music. And we were talking the other day, and I said, hey, man, you just got 2 albums that just came out. I said, why don't you do my podcast? We can promote the albums, talk, and just shoot the breeze and talk about music. And so that's what we're talking about. And Cody is a real interesting guy, and he's a smart guy, and he's got a good head on his shoulder, and he kind of thinks things out. And he's kind of found a lot of success and been with a few labels, but now running independent again. And, and doing it, people love the way he's doing it, and they love the way he sings his songs and the words in his songs. And that's what I like about him, too. I just love his music. Some bitch can sing a hell of a damn song. And he used to write most of his material. Now he'll collaborate with different artists, some of the guys that you'll hear in the podcast. But the new albums that he's got out right now are on the iTunes Top 100 list. And one of them is called The Wanting, and the other one is called After the Fire. I have both albums, and I love the hell out of both of them. I think The Wanting is actually a little bit higher up on the charts than After the Fire. I like After the Fire better out of the two albums, and I love both albums. Also, man, I cut my teeth on Adobe Sessions, and I love I love that album. I love I'm Not the Devil. And, man, I really got a kick out of Les Wise. Les Wise, to me, is one of the best records he's got. Lifers. And Lifers is cool, and Lifers really, to me, had the two strongest songs on there was Holy Water and Must Be the Whiskey. And, a lot of people like Lifers and Can't Quit Enough and Headcase, but I really like those two tracks off that album. But anyway, I'm looking forward to Cody coming to Reno area or the LA area so I can see him in person, and we can do the podcast in person again and talk about different stuff. But I hope you enjoy today's podcast. If you've never heard of Cody Jinks, and, some of you haven't, but, man, to me, he's one of the best country music singers out there, singers, period. And I just enjoy the hell out of his music. Check out his new two albums, which just dropped, and we'll go over those again, The Wanting and After the Fire. But, man, again, I swear by Adobe Sessions, I'm Not the Devil Unless Wise. Lifers comes in there. He's got the 30 album. Check out the podcast and give Cody a listen. On Instagram, he is Cody Jinks, Jinks. Dig it. The month of November is a great month for sports. You've got all the crucial NFL and college football games happening as teams look forward, securing spots for the postseason. Plus, the NHL and NBA seasons are in full gear. The betting odds are yours for the taking. Here's what's going down in college football this weekend. The Iowa Hawkeyes taking on Wisconsin. Penn State facing Minnesota. Kansas State versus Texas. And a huge SEC battle between Alabama, Crimson Tide, and the LSU Tigers. That is going to be a barn burner. Visit our good friends and exclusive partners at PodcastOne, betonline.ag, to take advantage of the best bonuses in the business. Sign up today for a free account at betonline.ag and use the promo code PodcastOne. Again, that's betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts and exclusive partners of Podcast One Sportsnet. The new movie 21 Bridges starring Chadwick Boseman, who you may also know as Marvel's Black Panther, and directed by the Russo brothers, who brought you Avengers Endgame, are teaming up to bring the next big action thriller to theaters. I've seen the trailer for this movie, and the intensity and action in this movie is lights out. Chadwick plays a New York City detective who pulls off the manhunt of the century in search of a pair of killers on the run. With high-risk crime comes extreme measures. The clock is ticking, and the entire island of Manhattan needs to be shut down. That means trains, rivers, tunnels, and all 21 bridges are on complete lockdown. Chadwick has an impressive cast alongside him, including Stephen James, Taylor Kish, J.K. Simmons, and Sienna Miller. You loved watching Chadwick in Black Panther, and you'll absolutely dig watching him own New York as a superhero of the streets. Check out 21 Bridges, only in theaters November 22nd.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
All right, here we go. I got Cody Jinks, one of my favorite country music singers right now on the line. God dang it, Cody, we've been having all kinds of hell getting this podcast going. How are you today?
I'm doing good, brother. We're gonna get it though, man. We'll work it out.
I've been wanting to talk to you forever. Right? Yeah, between the World Series and football. Last time I talked to you, the Astros were playing the Nationals, and god dang, it was Game 7. I thought the Astros were going to pull it off, and man, I give Washington Nationals so much credit, but I was really cheering for Houston. I imagine being a Texas boy, you were too.
I tell you what, I didn't have a dog in the fight. I'm a Texas Rangers fan. So
I figured.
You know, being from the DFW area, I watched every game of that World Series except one. I missed one of them. And, most of them were pretty spread apart, point wise, except for the first game, I think was a 1-run game. But, I just enjoyed the series, man. Sorry about the Astros, though.
Oh, man, I've got a chance to follow you on Instagram at Cody Jinks, and I've seen you've been throwing out a couple of first pitches to several Major League Baseball games. Are you a baseball fan? Is it something you grew up doing?
I love it. I'm just a sports fan. Football is I played football in high school. I wasn't big or strong or fast enough to go to college on it, but I played baseball, and I wasn't good at it, but I still love it. I love baseball. I got to throw out first pitch at Fenway on my birthday this year, so that was super cool. Yeah, I'm a sports fan, but it's baseball and football primarily.
Hey, man, I've got a chance to throw out a couple of first balls myself, and it's always fun. But you got a little bit of a pressure on you, and the thing is, you don't get no warm ups because I'd like to sit over on the sidelines, whether it's first baseline or third baseline, and play catch with one of the guys and kind of get warmed up. All of a sudden, you just kind of been sitting around and said, "Hey, you're up," and you go out there. And hey, I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin. You're Cody Jinks. You want to throw one in the dirt. Are you nervous when you go up there and throw that first pitch?
Yes. Actually, it's funny. A buddy of mine, Andrew Kashner, who pitches for the Red Sox, he was catching the pitch, and he goes, "Whatever you do, dude, do not put the ball in the dirt. They will boo you." And I'm like, "All right, cool. No pressure." And he goes, "Oh." And he goes, "And you got to throw from the rubber." He goes, "None of that scooting up crap." He goes, "You throw from the rubber." Yeah, pressure there. But they actually let me warm up a little bit. The foul ball, the lady that catches the foul balls down the third baseline, she goes, "You want to warm up?" I said, "I'd love to." So I threw probably 4 or 5 balls, and they let me warm up a little bit. But I got it there. It was a little high, but it was right down the middle.
Hey, speaking of, sports, and you're playing a little bit of football today, Saturday, as we speak, are you a college football guy at all?
I do. I keep up with it, and I'm a TCU fan. Actually, well, hey, your alma mater.
Right down the road, North Texas State, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So my wife went to Texas Woman, and we lived in Denton, so we keep up with the Mean Green, and TCU's my favorite team. They, being Fort Worth boy, they were the closest college team, and that was back when they were horrible. They were really bad, but it's fun to watch SMU sitting at 15 right now. That hadn't happened in like 30-some years.
Man, and Shane Boucher, however you say his last name, they had a quarterback controversy between him and Sam Ehlinger over at University of Texas. So Boucher goes over to SMU, of course, Dallas school. And, of course, the last time SMU was really in prominence was when the Pony Express was around with Eric Dickerson and Craig James. And, of course, that was when, kind of like when I was a senior in high school, those guys were running roughshod over the entire nation. And so to see SMU where it's at now, and TCU with what's his name at the helm, who's coaching them? God dang it, Gary Patterson. He's done an outstanding job over there. North Texas is coming up. We played TCU way back in the day when I was there in '86 and '87. We were still a Division II school, and now they're Division I. And we went over there, and we should have beat those guys. And I'll be danged if they didn't beat our ass. And at that time they weren't so great, so we were going to go over there and whoop up on them. But it turns out we were I believe we were 3-8 and 2-9 the years I was in North Texas. But anyway, I digress. Do you have a favorite pro football team?
Pro football team? Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys?
Yes, sir. Dallas Cowboys, die hard. Through and through.
God dang it, man. Are you frustrated because they busted out of the gate? What were they, 3-0, something like that? They was coming in, winning record, and then all of a sudden, and I love the Dallas Cowboys, but I love a lot of teams. I'm just a football junkie, and I kind of follow, coaches, players, storylines, what's going on where. And then I said, I don't want it to happen, but the wheels are going to fall off. And as I predicted, the wheels have fallen off. What do they do to get that thing on the right track?
Fire Jason Garrett. And I hate to say that because I don't want to see anybody, lose their job or anything like that. But, it fell off. We started off going 3-0, and then we dropped 3. We dropped one to the Jets, man. They just came out and just, it was awful. It was ugly and awful. I think the pieces are in place. I'm a Dak Prescott fan. I mean, we got, Dak and Zeke and Amari Cooper and Cobb, and our O line's pretty banged up. Our tackles are hurting right now. But anyway, we had that week off. Maybe we can come back out and get it going. But it's been fun to. Our backup team is the Saints. My wife and I. My dad's from Louisiana, so we always watched the Cowboys and the Saints. And big Drew Brees fan. So it's cool to see Teddy Bridgewater go over and take over that team and while Drew was out. So that's been fun to watch. 49ers are off to golly, they hadn't had this good a start since Montana was a quarterback there. So yeah, it's fun. It's a fun thing. We love it. My wife and I go to a different stadium every year for our anniversary. I think we've been to 7 different stadiums, and this year we went up to Kansas City and we got to watch Patrick Mahomes play.
Boy, that guy can sling it. Yeah, he's a fun guy to watch, and I was a little bit worried. Yesterday was the first day, or Thursday Night Football was the first night I got a chance to watch San Fran, and everybody, I knew they were undefeated. There was a hot team, and hell, I'll tell you what, Kyler Murray and those guys, they turned it into a ball game. Going towards the finish there, and I said, "Oh, holy smokes, they might end up beating these guys if they had another 5-10 minutes, 5-8 minutes, they might have." But San Fran hung on, and it's good to see Garoppolo coming back from that injury. He's having a great year. All the pieces they got, they're dangerous as hell. And boy, I tell you what, they're just a fun team to watch.
Yeah, they are. Gosh, what was it? A 3-point game, like 28-25, something like that?
That was final score.
Super close, Yeah, they are fun to watch. Anyway, that guy reminds me so much of Daryl Johnston. It's super fun to watch.
Hey, man, let's go back to, you've got 2 brand new albums out. And both these things busted out, and you released one of them. Then a week later, you released another one. You come out with After the Fire on October 11th, and then a week later, you came up with The Wanting. Now, what was the strategy between releasing 2 albums a week apart?
The original concept was to do a double record, and The Wanting is really talking about kind of the road life and trying to discover, go deeper into your art and just getting out and doing the thing. And then After the Fire is kind of more talking about the home life, the settling down, coming down period. So we ended up with 22 songs, and it was really easy to tell which songs were going to go on which record. So originally, like I said, we'd wanted to do a double record. We got in, we had 18 songs ready, ended up coming out with 22. We wrote a few more in the studio, and the songs really picked themselves to go on which, either one. But, like I was saying a while ago, before it cut off, I was just so relieved to have both of them out, October 11th and then the 18th, and both of them charted really well. Super pleased. It couldn't have been any better, really, especially for an independent artist. So just a big sigh of relief. I'm just glad they're out.
Why are you an independent artist? I mean, you were with a record label, right? And now not so much?
Yeah, I did. I did a couple records with a company called 30 Tigers. They're great. They're a lot like a label. We had more of a distribution and publishing deal than we did actually what you would consider like a proper record label contract thing. The Lifers record we put out with Rounder, yep. And it's a major label. It's a smaller major label, but they were great. They did everything that they said they would do. We did everything that we said that we would do. So, the deal was good, really good on the back end. I had a really good percentage, the gross and all that kind of stuff. So they really were great to me. But, we got to the point, my management and I, we were like, we've been doing it pretty much by ourselves anyway. Let's go back to that formula. The company that, started is called True Grit, and then True Grit hosts True Grit Presents. There's 2 companies, AEG and Live Nation are 2 of the biggest, companies that do the promotions for the shows and stuff, like put shows together and put you in different clubs and stuff like that. But we've learned over the years how to do it ourselves. So lot of thought goes into making a decision to put a double record out or 2 records out at, basically the same time, and seeing if you can go hit number ones with them as an independent artist. And we proved that, it can be done. You don't have to go the record label route. It's a lot harder not to, but in the long term, it's a lot better for me. I'm pretty hard-headed. I do things my way. I don't know. It just it works out better being an independent artist.
Man, yeah, it sounds very intriguing. I've been listening a whole lot. I knew we were going to get a chance to talk, and I have all of your albums, but I started listening to some of the older ones. And on Less Wise, you have the song "Hippies and Cowboys," and a little shot there at Nashville. What's the relationship between you and Nashville? Do you fit? Do you not fit? Are they pushing you? You're one of my favorite guys. So what's the story with getting played on the radio today? Because you're everywhere. You have a rabid fan base who absolutely love you. Where are you at with that?
Starting with Hippies, it was a time I wrote that at a time when you have Nashville, and then you have down here in the South, they call it the Texas red dirt scene. And I didn't really fit into either scene. It was really strange. I remember 15 years ago, somebody saying, hey, nobody covers Merle Haggard anymore. Nobody, and I'm like, well, I do, so I'm kind of in Texas, so I'm lumped into a scene that I didn't really adhere to what was going on there. Nashville had already started the descent into the pop country thing. So Hippies and Cowboys, really a shot at Nashville and the Texas music scene. It was a shot at everybody because it was just kind of saying, hey, you don't have to be labeled this. You don't have to be labeled this, So it was, I've never been a part of any musical scene, and live, we say never been a part of any bullshit scene, but that's what scenes are, they're bullshit. So, and I ain't just talking Nashville, if you know what I mean. And,
right.
That was just talking about, any kind of scene club. I never really fit in with any of that. My relationship with Nashville is that there are some great people in Nashville. I spend quite a bit of time in Nashville. We do a lot of finishing up work. I record in El Paso. We've done all the last 4 or 5 records out there, but we do a lot of touch-up work in Nashville. A lot of the people that we work with are out in Nashville. Nashville itself is it's a great town. It's a fun town. It's a great place to go and visit. And I think it's one of the fastest growing big cities in America right now. It's insane how big it's gotten since I started going out there. But there's also a lot of people in Nashville that I don't care to be around, and that have given the music business a bad name. But when we get together to rehearse new material, a lot of us meet in Nashville because we're the band and crew spread out all over the United States. So my buses, they both stay in Nashville. So we're kind of quasi based out of Nashville because a lot of times getting together for a tour, we just have to fly out there and get together. But I got a lot of friends out there. There's a lot of great people, great songwriters out there.
Again, I'm going back to the Less Wise album, and I'm looking at one of the songs that I really enjoy, 65 Days in L.A. And was 65 Days in L.A. written from your days with Unchecked Aggression, or was that a whole completely different endeavor?
Oh, that was with Unchecked Aggression. That song. It's going to sound funny. The song makes me laugh. It makes me smile. It was from a perspective of a kid that grew up in a very right-wing, traditional style upbringing. Going out there when I was, and it was with Unchecked Aggression, but going out there when I was 23, and being from conservative Fort Worth, Texas, and jumping into LA, and it was a culture shock to say the least. But it was 65 days I was out there, and the reason I came home was the whole band was going to move out there because we'd kind of hit a plateau in the DFW area. We were doing really well. We were selling hundreds of tickets a night, which for a fledgling metal band is pretty good in your own home area. but we felt like we had kind of hit our ceiling here. And, you know, in the early 2000s, nobody was signing thrash bands. So, you know, we figured it was sink or swim. Went out to LA, and right before we left, our drummer said he wasn't going. And we had already sold all of our stuff, gotten rid of our apartment, been living in our guitar player's parents' house to save money. You know, we'd already gotten everything lined out, and then he drops that bomb. And we go out to LA and discover that LA is the last place you want to be looking for a drummer.
Why is that?
Because they're so sought after that most of the drummers, we would go out there and, you know, audition. You know, there were some really good ones, but, you know, those guys can go make a bunch of money, you know, just for playing a show with somebody. And so they bounce around a lot. And, you know, we were looking for one guy and we weren't making any money. And so it's hard to convince somebody, hey, man, you know, we're going to make it. We're going to really do it if you just come be a part of it and be broke with us for a while. That doesn't happen in L.A. with a band that, you know, is really little known out there. So, yeah, kind of one of those deals where came home with our tails tucked between our legs and tried to get it back together after we got back home. But there was so much bad blood between me and another one of the guys that decided not to go with us.
Man, you know, that's such a fine balancing act of just trying to, you're the main guy, you're Cody, but if you're just in unchecked aggression, your metal band, well, you know, seemingly it's a bunch of guys that got to coexist together. And you look what happened to the Eagles after they broke up and then they got back together. It'd be, you know, five different jets flying to a show. Those guys just hated each other. So it's a hell of a dynamic. You know, speaking about Nashville, when I first broke into wrestling business, I started there at the Dallas Sportatorium. After a few months,
I remember the Sportatorium.
Yeah, well, after a few months, Jerry Jett, the promoter, sent me down to Tennessee, and I ended up in Nashville, Tennessee, on the Dickerson Pike at the Congress Inn Hotel. And it was a shitbox hotel, and I say this respectfully, it's still there. And the people that ran it were nice enough to just let me pay whenever I had the money to pay. So, and that's how I got by. And I was damn near starving to death. When you guys were out there as Unchecked Aggression in Los Angeles, where were you staying? What was the lifestyle? Because I can imagine in the rock industry, it could be living a little bit fast. But tell me about the money situation and how you guys hustled or where you guys lived as far as paying your dues in the music business.
I think shitbox is a good term for where we lived. And as far as the money situation, there was none. Paying your dues is paying your dues. And you know, I'm a big fan of wrestling, and I've watched a lot of documentaries and some stuff that you've been in, and you know, you guys put in the long hours and the long drives and getting to where you have to get and go perform. And, you know, you and I, the business of both of what we do is very similar in that regard. We were broke. We were living on ramen noodles and Pabst Blue Ribbon. You know, it was you know, the breakfast, lunch, and dinner at Champions. It was, you know, you could get a pack of ramen noodles for 16 cents and a 12-pack of PBR for $5.65 at the time. Yeah. So that's what we did. And it was a good day if you had enough hot dog wieners to cut up and put in your ramen. It was a great day if you had a ham sandwich or a real can of soup. But yeah, we lived like that. We lived like that before we got out there. Lived like that for a time after I got back. It's just it's the nature of the game. I wouldn't trade any of it.
I thought I enjoyed it. I think, you know, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think you kind of have to. I remember I was out there starving in Nashville, and it was my birthday. And my mom asked, she goes, do you want me to send you some money? And if she was going to buy me a birthday present, $40 was kind of our limit. And I said, Mom, if you could send me $40, I sure would appreciate it. But I wouldn't take no more because then it'd be considered a handout. So anyway, when my mother sent me that $40, I went and got me some groceries and ate for a couple of days. But yeah, talk to me about being forged.
Oh, yeah. You know, just those are the things that shape you. And you, like that story about your mom, you know, I have a song called the Mama Song. And
dude, that's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah. Well, you know, I was going to have my truck repossessed. My mom helped me make my truck payment a couple of months. And I'll never forget that. It was, it's funny. I was talking to my wife the other day. Actually, well, the other day, I think it was yesterday. I was talking to her about, I said, I miss the grind. I miss like the hunger of being unknown and having to walk into a bar where nobody knows who you are and plug your guitar in and having to earn that crowd, having to earn the people in there. It's different once you've established yourself, your name, you show up and people just know who you are, So you've seen both sides of that coin as well. But what I was saying to her was, I said, I miss just plugging my guitar in and sitting in some shithole bar on a bar stool in a corner playing old George Jones songs. I miss that part of the grind. Everything now is such a show and such a production. We're rolling around with 14 guys on 2 buses. It's everywhere we go. It's a big show, and everything's choreographed. Everything's timed perfectly. Everything, it's there's no more of that. Well, I was in San Antonio last night, and tomorrow night I have to haul ass to Amarillo. You get up hungover and have to drive by yourself, and then get there and play, and get up and be hungover again, and make your way back to Dallas. Kind of things like that, things that I used to do, things like, you used to do. And then all of a sudden you're riding around in tour buses and airplanes everywhere. And you think, gosh, man, it was easier when I was just broke.
It kind of was. And then we used to always say to each other, God dang, man, I can't believe we're getting paid to do this. It all sounds good. You say it every now and then because you are lucky. You're having so much fun. But at the end of the day, it is a business. And to your point, I watched a show of you guys. Well, I've seen you over at Lukenbach just sitting down. I used to live 7 miles from Lukenbach. Or that show down there in Tampa with Unchecked Aggression, just a small show. I remember being suplexed in Chevrolet dealerships there in Dallas, Texas. And it's like you said, man, you go into a room and you just plug your guitar in. You got to earn that room. You got to earn that respect. And now with the notoriety, the fame that you have now, the reputation, it's living up to the expectations or exceeding the expectations and not falling short. It's the same, but it's different. It goes back to it's the grind.
Yeah. No, you're very right. In saying, you remember being suplexed in car dealerships in Dallas. I remember playing in grocery stores in Dallas. Like that was who gave us some money to go play, playing in a grocery store. And people walk by you and look at you like, why the hell are you playing in a grocery store? Because I'm grinding it out, man.
Driving my carcass all around town to get all of my shop supplies is not what I want to be doing with my time. I'd much rather be tearing up the terrain on my Kawasaki than hunting down tools and other gimmicks. Well, my guys at Zorro.com are here to make it hassle-free for all of us because they got everything you need in one place. Zorro.com, spelled Z-O-R-O, is where you'll find everything you need for businesses of any size and almost any industry. Electrical, plumbing, contracting, manufacturing. Don't sweat it out because Zorro has you covered. Zorro.com has tools and equipment, safety and office supplies, cleaning items, and more from brands you know and trust such as Stanley, 3M, Milwaukee, Schneider, and Rubbermaid, just to name a few. Zorro.com offers amazing customer service from real people based in the United States. And you'll dig the fast free shipping on orders of $50 or more. Just for listeners of the Steve Austin Show, visit Zorro.com/Austin to sign up for Z-Mail and get 15% off your first order. Again, that's Zorro.com/Austin for 15% off your first order. Zorro.com/Austin. Get it all in one place.
As always, a big thank you for listening to the show. We'd like to ask a small but very important favor of you that'll only take a few minutes. And if you're one of the first people to do it, Podcast One will make it worth your time. We need you to complete a short survey because the information you give us can help make things better for the show and you as a listener. Just go to podcastone.com/survey and everything will be right there for you. That's podcastone.com/survey. The first 250 people who complete the survey will get a $10 gift card to Amazon.com. And 2 Grand Prize winners will be selected at random to get a $100 Amazon gift card. How about that? Free money. It's a win-win. Our shows are supported by advertisers, so filling this out will really help us cater to the needs of you as a loyal listener. Go to podcastone.com/survey, answer some questions, and potentially make some money along the way. From all of us here at Podcast One, thank you for being a dedicated listener.
Get ready to raise some hell and stomp a mud hole in your opponents with WWE 2K20. Available now for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. This year's game is packed with some incredible features such as the 2K Showcase, where you can relive the groundbreaking journey of the Four Horsewomen and the women's evolution from their start in NXT to 2019 when women headlined WrestleMania for the first time in history. A brand new My Career where for the first time in a WWE 2K series, you can play as both female and male characters. Unlock WWE Legends, original characters, and unique environments as you make your way from the Indies to the WWE Hall of Fame. And of course, the WWE 2K20 roster this year is loaded with over 180 of your favorite WWE superstars, legends, Hall of Famers, and NXT superstars. Play as the WWE superstars of today, such as AJ Styles, Roman Reigns, Kofi Kingston, and Kevin Owens, as well as the legendary Andre the Giant, Bret Hart, Goldberg, and the toughest SOB in the business, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Looking for the real deal? Be like my producer Sean and get it all with the WWE 2K20 Deluxe Edition. With the Deluxe Edition, you'll get a copy of WWE 2K20. All of the WWE 2K20 originals, including the pre-order bonus pack Bump in the Night featuring The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. The SmackDown 20th Anniversary of digital content featuring Hulk Hogan, China, and the Rock and Sock Connection with Mankind and The Rock. The WWE 2K20 Accelerator and the WWE 2K20 My Player Kickstart. WWE 2K20, available now for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. Get your copy today at WWE.2K.com. WWE 2K20. Step inside.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
Hey, tell me about the Mama song, because just the way that song starts off with that drum beat, and it just kicks in, and it just reminds me so much of everything that my mom was to me. When you say in the song that you picked up your pen and you wrote her a letter, are you really not a phone guy, or did you really write your mother?
I am. I did. I'm not a big phone guy. And after the advent of cell phones, because when I first started doing this, we didn't have cell phones or anything like that. But after I was older and got on the road, Mom would, she calls every show, but, sitting there thinking about my mom and thinking about, after this, she had already kind of helped me out, get me back on my feet. After I got home from California, I was sitting there and, thinking about her and thinking about the journey. And my mom and dad were always very supportive. That's one thing that, I can't say I had to fight them on it or to play. I was playing bars when I was in high school, so they were always really cool about that. But I sat down, to write my mom and, kind of just to pay homage to her helping me. And she texts now. We text back and forth, but back then you didn't have text. And she texts me before every show. And, you wouldn't believe, man, how many times people have walked up to me and said, I danced to that song with my mom at my wedding, or, we just lost my mom and we played that song at her funeral, or, that hits a lot of, cause I'm a mama's boy, always have been, love my mom. But yeah, it's just saying thank you for, raising my father's son was not the easiest thing she's ever done. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, what kind of kid were you?
I'm awkwardly shy, which is strange because I'm an entertainer, but I was always awkwardly shy. My dad was very, very strict. Dad was a pretty tough dude to live with. At home, it was usually on your toes. It was kind of one of those, I grew up in a speak when spoken to type of household. Well, my dad, good dude, talked to him last night. He was my best man at my wedding, but he was a tough MFer. And, so when I got to school, that's when I got to let all the stuff out. So I was a clown. I was funny. I was painfully shy. So I knew I could control the situation by making people laugh or entertaining them in some sort of way. So I was a fun kid. I had a good group of friends that we still hang out to this day. But normal, man. I loved sports, loved music. I was always outside. It was always in the street, playing football, playing baseball, riding bikes. pretty normal kid, I guess, in that regard.
I read that after you guys came back from L.A., 65 days in L.A., and that was enough for you. I've lasted 15 years out there, and people still say, God dang, Steve, how you last so long? I don't know, but I'm still there, but right now I'm in Nevada. But I read that you, after you experienced what you experienced in Los Angeles, you took about a year off from the music scene, and then you kind of returned to your roots and started playing the country music that you grew up loving. I know you're a big Merle Haggard fan. So what did you do on your year off, and why did you take the year off? Was it that hard on you?
It was. I was brokenhearted, man. I was completely devastated. I thought Unchecked Aggression was going to be, I thought that was it. I thought that was going to be, the typical, story like a Metallica or a Pantera or an Anthrax or whoever. A bunch of kids got together when we were 16, 17, 18 years old and had a 7-year run with it. After that band broke up, like I said, I was brokenhearted. I was devastated. I was 23. I'd been with my wife for 7 years. We weren't married. We'd just been dating for 7 years at that point since we were like 16 years old. And I was a mess when I got back from LA. My band had broken up. I wasn't taking good care of myself. You know what I mean? And yeah.
Running
and
fast.
I had to get my head screwed back on. I knew I needed to make Rebecca my wife. I knew I needed to get back on my feet, just take some time off. So I got a job waiting tables at a Bennigan's and working the door at a bar in the Fort Worth Stockyards called the White Elephant Saloon. And didn't really mean to start writing country songs. I sold my heavy metal equipment. I still have my guitar that I play, but I sold my amplifier, my Mesa Boogie and my big Marshall stack and the big loud stuff. And I bought me an acoustic. And at that point, I hadn't played an acoustic in 6 or 7 years. I had this little one-room efficiency apartment, and I lived by myself. My wife was about to graduate college at that time, and everything I was writing came out country. It was really strange. I've joked about being the only guy I know that didn't mean to be in a country band because I didn't know what I was going to do, but everything I was writing was a country song. I guess, I was sad. I was in kind of a weird place in my life, and I was listening to a lot of Merle Haggard, and I was listening to a lot of Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson and all those guys. And, started doing open mics, at the place that I worked at. They had an open mic every Tuesday. And I remember being so scared after, I'd been, up on stage screaming and yelling for, the last number of years. I remember first time I sat down in front of a room full of people with just my guitar and had to do 3 songs for this open mic night. It was uncharted territory for me. Yeah, that's where it came from. That's how I guess you, like you said, having that full circle moment, went back to where I started.
Was writing songs always something that just naturally happened for you? Because I know you collaborate and work with other songwriters now, but you kind of, almost exclusively, wrote all of your stuff. What's your thought process when you go to write a song? I mean, how do you know what you're looking to say?
That's a good question. Sometimes you don't know what you want to say. Sometimes you just have to sit down and write. It's different. The process is different for a lot of people. A lot of people like to write in the morning. A lot of people like to write at night. A lot of people like to write the lyrics before they get the music. A lot of people like to do that vice versa. I've never had a real formula for it. I write down ideas on little slips of paper.
Yeah.
And I put them in the drawer, and I'll go back and look at those. And sometimes I'll just get them out, put all the little pieces of paper together and see if I can make something out of that. You're right. As far as it used to be me just solely on all the records, I've always felt like the lyrics were, kind of my own personal burden. So sometimes you'll have an idea that pops in your head and you just write it down and you get it done in 15 minutes. And, 65 days in LA to this date took me the longest to write. It took me over 6 years to write that song from start to finish. It's tough to say. I'm undisciplined. A lot of writers are disciplined in how they write, when they write, where they write. I don't know. I don't write a lot on the road. I write more at home, just because on the road I'm busy, and that's not really where my headspace is. But collaborating now that I'm older with some people that I found in this business that are some of the, in my opinion, best writers in country music. and just have become friends with them over the years. That's helped me. That's helped me elevate my game in terms of being better, because when you take guys like Ward Davis and Tennessee Jet and Josh Morningstar, those guys have been helping me write songs for, the last 3 records. Those guys, in my opinion, are better writers than I am. So it's kind of one of those deals, surround yourself with good people after you find good people. And I guess I'm old enough now to have been doing it long enough to have found those good people.
You've told a story a few times, but to my crowd, which might not have sampled some of your music as much as I have or listened to as many interviews, there's a song on the Adobe Sessions album called Loud and Heavy. And again, well, damn, I could say that's one of my favorite songs. They're all my favorite songs. Tell a story about how that song was born, just because it's a great story.
It is a great story. It's one of my favorites. It was my son's 2nd birthday. He's now 7. So we go back about 5 years, and his mama was at work. His sister was in daycare. Well, she might have been in kindergarten at that time. I don't know. She was at daycare or kindergarten. So it was just me and the boys, and it was his 2nd birthday. And, I guess my daughter was he's June baby. So she was at daycare, and it was just me and the boy, and it was a rainy day, real cloudy, overcast, stuff like that. I said, son, what do you want to do? I said, what do you want to do for your birthday? We've always called it a dude day when it's just me and him. Yeah. we got a dude day. What do you want to do on your birthday? He said, I want to go see tractors. Okay, cool. There's a tractor supply company there in Denton right down the road. I said, we'll go see some tractors. He wanted to just go sit on tractors. And we were on our way, and the bottom fell off, man. Bottom fell out. It was just pouring on us, just thunder, just rumbling. And I just looked back at him. He was sitting in the car seat behind me, and I just looked back at him. I said, son, there's some loud thunder and some heavy rain. And he's back there, a little 2-year-old just kicking his feet in his car seat. He just starts going, loud thunder, heavy rain. Loud thunder, heavy rain. And I'm like, well, cool. I'm about to rip my kid off. So I grabbed my voice recorder on my cell phone, and I sang that line just like I always still sing it, just like it starts the song, and just grabbed my phone, hit record, and just went, loud thunder, heavy rain. Stopped the recording. We went, and he sat on some tractors and got his fill after it stopped raining, and took him home. He started playing, and I grabbed my guitar and sat there and wrote that whole damn song.
And it happened just like that from an idea from your son.
That's it, yeah. And, it's funny because I gave him half the publishing on that song. So, I think he made $30,000 off that song this year.
Kid's having a pretty good year.
He doesn't know.
Hey,
no, but yeah.
I got to ask you about one more song, and then we'll move along and talk about something else before we wrap this thing up. But when I first got the Adobe Sessions album, it's been a couple years, but when I first got it, I don't hear really well. I tell everybody that, and it's true. But I was listening to David. I said, man, this song's got a real catchy hook to it. But man, the stuff it sounds sad as hell, but I love the song. It's like the saddest song that it was ever written to a really great, whatever you call it, tune. How the hell was that song born? Because I love that song. It's one of my favorites that you do. There's 30 more. How did David come to be? I mean, it's a tragic song.
David for me was an absolute exercise in, I write mostly first person. I don't write it. There's very, very few songs that I write third person. That was an exercise for me. And you're exactly right. You nailed it right on the head. The music is really fun and upbeat and catchy, and the lyrical content is absolutely devastating. So, I love, that kind of paradox of having a really fun sounding song that is really, really sad. I'm a big Chris Knight fan. And I don't know if you know who Chris Knight is. He's a Kentucky boy. He writes some of the meanest, saddest, catchiest songs. And I've always been a big, big fan of his. So in that song, I really tried to dive into my inner Chris Knight. I get asked more about David than any song by far. Even Loud and Heavy, I get asked about David more, and people want to know, is it a true story? People want to know, did I actually serve in the Marines, and all this kind of stuff. And the answer is no, I didn't. I know that there's a lot of commonalities. Military guys ask me, police officers ask me all the time about that song because a lot of those guys have lived through something like that. So, I think it was one of those deals where I'd heard a story about two guys going two different ways, type of thing. And that song took me about 1.5 years to write, but still one of the crowd favorites. That's one that you have to play every single night. That one never gets kicked out of the rotation, and people rock out to it too, but it's I don't know, it's fun. It's a fun song. It's just really sad.
It's the funnest sad song I've ever heard in my life. When you're in the middle of writing a song, if that one took you 1.5 years or that other one took you 6 years, when you're in the middle of something, you ever say to somebody, hey man, I got this song, maybe you could help me out? Or do you keep it to yourself because you want to finish yourself? How do you balance that?
That's another great question. It goes both ways, Steve. It's kind of one of those deals where if I get stuck on something and I feel like it's going to be a badass song in the end, it's hard to go to another writer and go, hey, I'm stuck. Can you help me finish this? Now, you have to think to yourself that this writer is going to help make this song better. And the way it goes is, and people do that with me too. I'll throw you an idea. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And, the writers that I trust, that I feel like are all really, really good writers, that's the way we all approach it as well. It's, it's your A material. So whenever you're throwing somebody your A material, it's kind of a vulnerable situation. Writing is it's a really personal thing. So it goes both ways. If somebody gives me some of their A material and I know they're not holding back, I feel like it's my job to help make that song better. A prime example is there's a song off of the new record called Tell 'Em What It's Like. And it's a song that I had started writing for my wife because there's a really ugly side to living with somebody that does what I do for a living. And, in terms of, me coming home and having been on the road and I'm moody and I just want to be left alone and, but you got a wife to take care of and kiddos to take care of and stuff like that. And everybody sees this very glamorous side. So they don't see whenever I'm at home and I'm being a grumpy asshole and everybody wants to talk to my wife about how cool it must be to be married to me, when in fact it is probably not always cool. I had two verses to that song, Tell 'Em What It's Like, and I couldn't finish it. I knew we needed one dynamite chorus to make it happen. And I was sitting on that song 4 or 5 months, and Josh Morningstar came over to the house to write with me, and I showed it to him. He's married and has kids as well. And he's a road dog too. And, he teared up and he goes, oh my God, dude. He goes, people have been trying to say that for years. And he just ripped the chorus out right then and there. He's like, play it again. So I played him the 2 verses again. And he went right to the chord progression on the guitar, and that never changed. And then he started just spitting the chorus out. And it was kind of one of those like, holy shit, that's awesome. Like, yeah, keep going. So that, prime example of having another songwriter that you trust, come in the middle of a song, and he made it so much better.
It's got to be an interesting dynamic, a song like that, and then almost like you're pouring your heart out, or here's your A material. Keep it like a guy. Here's my A material, but God dang, it's a good tune, and he feels the vibe and knows where you're coming from. And I would imagine you guys are probably more than just good friends, right?
Yeah,
or not more than business partners, but really good friends to be able to share something like that. Or is it purely business?
No, not at all. Like I was saying a while ago, writing is really a personal thing. The people that I choose to write with, I've been writing with, for years now, and we know each other like very well. We've gone through births and divorces and, good shows and bad shows together, being broke down on the side of the road together. So you do create that bond. And when if I go to one of those guys or girls and say, hey, this is where I'm at, they've known me well enough to know how to write for me. Just like my buddy Ward Davis was going through a divorce, and we wrote a song called Colorado for him, and both of us ended up recording in our records. But I had to get and just knowing him and having, been friends with him for so long, I had to get into his headspace and write like him, from his perspective while we were writing that song, because that song wasn't about my life. That song was about his life. So
that's interesting.
It's you really, have to trust that person. And that's, I've cited these guys before, like your Merles and Whalens and Willies and your Johnny Cashes and your Chris Christophersons, all those guys that used to record each other's songs, write songs together, perform together, and I'm not comparing us to them by any, stretch of the imagination, but, it's the same kind of concept.
Some of the guys you just mentioned, would have been considered part of the outlaw country music scene way back in the day. And sometimes, kind of some of the guys that you tour with, yourself, like a Sturgill Simpson or Whitey Morgan, or would Chris Stapleton or Jamie Johnson be included in there? They, sometimes you're equated with outlaw country music. Where do you stand on that? Because when I see Cody Jinks, I just see or hear a really great artist who's singing really great songs. I don't really understand the outlaw part. Can you explain that for me? Does that make sense?
No, that's something that I get asked quite a bit. I have a kind of a joke when people ask me that. It's not a funny joke; it's a dad joke. But say, I'm not an outlaw, man. I pay taxes. I don't. It's not like I'm. When Waylon was running around, with the Hells Angels, like that's outlaw shit. Like the term outlaw, it's more of a, screw the establishment. I'm going to do it my way. Like I was saying a while ago about the whole record label thing. It's more just a mindset of, hey, I don't give a damn. And if you don't want to give me the money to make this record because it's not what you think it should be, I think it's what it should be because it's mine. And I'm an artist. I'm not a dancing monkey that a record label goes and gives songs to and says, sing these songs and sing them like this. And, have A&R people telling you how to dress and, things of that nature. So, to me, I think just the terminology of it is just somebody that just goes against, the norm, and like you're saying, some of the guys you brought up, Whitey Morgan. Whitey and I have been friends and been playing together for years and years. And, at the time that he was really hitting the road hard and not well known, I was hitting the road hard, not well known. We were crisscrossing the country. We were really kind of the only two that were doing it that way, like Sturgill and Chris Stapleton, who I'm both absolutely love, and Jamie, which, Jamie's become a really good friend over the years. Those guys had record labels. Gotcha. And if we did, it was something really, little mom and pop type of thing. So, in my opinion, and this it's not a slight on anybody because I love all the guys you just named. Me and Whitey were really the first ones to kind of come back and do it the way we're doing it. And I'm proud of that. Whitey and I have a lot of miles together. Whitey and I started touring together. We were such assholes that neither one of us wanted to even like each other. We're two different. But it's true. We didn't at the time that we met. We were both still so broke and so, sleeping in, vans and truck stops and eating beanie weenies. And the only two guys that I knew at the time that were doing what we were doing, crisscrossing the United States, zero support, zero, putting our own tours together, doing everything, in-house. And so we were both grumpy and we played 2 or 3 shows together, and we had the same manager. Whitey had been with him for about a year. His name's Arthur Penhollow. We're both still with him. Whitey had been with Arthur for about a year, and I just signed on with Arthur. He put us together for 2 or 3 shows to see if it worked, and we never really spoke. I think we both understood from a business aspect that the shows were working well, but we didn't really care to get to know the other guy, So they decided to put us on about a month-long tour together, or a couple-month tour, something like that. And we get like 3 weeks into this tour, And Whitey and I still really haven't said anything. And it was one of those days where I can't remember if he was having a hard day or I was having a hard day or whatever. But it was kind of one of those deals where it's like, hey, man, you want to go get a beer? Yeah. Let's go get a beer. So we went and sat down and had a beer finally and got to know each other a little bit. And the rest is history. We're pretty good buddies these days.
Man, that's good to hear. Did you hear my alarm just kick in a while ago? That was reminding me to eat. I'm back in my get in shape routine, and my alarm is set to Cody Jinks.
Oh, is it really? Okay. I heard something. I didn't know what it was.
No, it's what else is new. Yeah. California's still on fire.
Oh, yeah. Okay. California's still on fire.
Before we wrap up, you talked about coming off the road, and, Daddy's a little tired, and he's, been doing his thing, and you're a little grumpy at the house until you get settled in. And so, they're kind of doing without you while you're doing on the road and trying to take care of everything. How is life on the road? I imagine it's a tad bit slower than it was back in the day, but when you start stringing those dates together, life on the road can be rough. How do you deal with it?
It is. Obviously, it's not. The hours aren't as long anymore. I don't drive anymore. I've driven myself across the country several times. Now, I'm not qualified to drive a tour bus, so I let professional people do that. But it's really, really different than it used to be. My routine is so strange whenever I'm on the road. When I'm on the road, I'm up until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning because I don't get done working until, 11, 12. And then, so you just, you go get back up on the bus after the show and usually have a couple beers with some of the other guys from the other bands you play with. And then, I go to bed. I sleep late. I sleep a lot on the road. I sleep probably 12, 13 hours a day on the road, just breaking it up between sleeping and then naps and things of that nature because it's really mentally stressful. So much going on. There's always people pulling at you from one way or the other. You need to talk to this person or talk to this promoter or go beat this group of fans or, it's a job. It's pretty grueling whenever you're out there, 5, 6 weeks at a time. And we're older now. We try not to do that, do those longest stretches anymore because most of us have kids, younger kids. So, it's life on the road. It's strange. My wife and I say going through reentry is difficult after I've been gone for a couple months and I come home and there's actually rules again because when I come home, I'm not the boss. When I come home, yeah.
Oh, you got to figure it out now, huh?
Yeah, it took me a while. But when I'm on the road, I'm the boss. I do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. In real life isn't that way. And so she says, the reentry period is usually the toughest, the first few days after I get home, but then I'm usually pretty good.
Yeah, but they are because, man, when you're on the road, like I used to be, and you're doing your own thing, you're on your own schedule. Those three, in your case, are, they're on their schedule, while Dad's gone. They're doing their thing, and all of a sudden it's the clash of schedules, and things get worked back in. It's like you said, it's the reentry, but it's weird. And
it is. It's strange.
It's like you're the odd man out.
They get on their schedule, and it's almost like when you get home, you screw everything up.
Mm-hmm.
Because, my kids look at it like Dad's home. It's happy, fun time, play. We're going to eat candy and, I'm going to let them do whatever they want to do, and my wife's like, we have a freaking routine, dude, and I come home and just totally screw everything up.
Before we get off the air here, again, I'm on my Les Wise album, Wake Up Becky. Obviously, you wrote that for your wife?
Yeah, that one, it's funny to joke about now, but it was one of those, I wrote that song a long time ago. It was one of those nights I was on the road by myself and I tried to call her and she wasn't answering the phone and my mind started getting the best of me. So my mind went to the worst. It's like, oh God, she's had enough. She's not at the house anymore. She's done with this. All these things, and I start thinking about the worst. Well, I get to where I'm going that night, asleep, wake up the next morning, you know, she called me back, and I'm like, where were you at? She was like, I was asleep. She's like, and I was like, oh. I was like, so you're good? She was like, yeah, I'm good. I was like, are you at the house? She's like, yeah, what do you think I'm going to be, you know? I'm like, I thought you left.
You know, it's so interesting. Hell, 50 of your songs I've lived and done. And when I listen to you sing about them, I'm like, yeah, man, he gets it. I've been there too. So I continue to enjoy your music. And if you ever get out to Los Angeles, we got to talk in person. And I'd love to see you live, come to your show. Or if you're in the Reno area, when we're out here in Nevada, if you ever play Reno or something like that, or if you're in Vegas, hell, I'll drive to Vegas and see you. But we got to do this live, and I'd love to see you live. But I sure have enjoyed, you know, the few conversations we've had or text every here and there. I appreciate the music. When I used to drive up down the road, I was listening to Merle Haggard, George Jones, Conway Twitty, you know, Keith Whitley, Conway Twitty, just my guys. Hell, Alabama was great back in the day. Just I can't remember the rest of them, but these days I still listen to those guys. But most of the time these days, when I'm riding down the road, I've got something from Cody Jinks playing on my iPhone. So thanks for all the music. And I wish you the best of luck with everything, and congrats on the new 2 albums that you just put out.
Oh, thank you so
and
much.
I'm going to plug those again at the end of the show. But the people that don't know about Cody Jinks, that are more wrestling fan base, can go out and check out these 2 albums, which I highly recommend. And anything from the body of work from Cody Jinks, I think you'll enjoy. So it's been good talking to you, man.
Hey man, it's been great talking to you. And can I end on this one thing? This is super funny.
Oh, absolutely.
You know that my son was you for Halloween, right? I told you about that, showed you the video?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the other night, we're up in Silverton, Colorado. We got a place up there this year. And Halloween. We just got back yesterday. And he was walking around the neighborhood as Stone Cold Steve Austin. The first house he goes to, we've never met this neighbor. First house he goes to, she opens the door. He says trick or treat. He and my daughter say trick or treat. She gives him candy. In 7, he didn't say thank you. The first thing he said was, "Can I get a hell yeah?" And her husband was standing behind her, and he goes, "Hell yeah, Stone Cold!" And she started laughing. He started laughing. I was laughing, and you know, I was like, "Dude, say thank you." You know, so he's walking back up, and I go, "Hey man," I said, "that was really funny, but that's probably not how you need to." Just say it, you know, at every house he goes to. Anyway, I had to tell you that. It was so damn funny.
Oh, that's great. Glad it was me. I got a lot of pictures on Twitter and Instagram from people who dressed up as Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I retired so long ago. I'm glad that people still remember, much less your son, who's a youngster. So I appreciate the support. Yeah. And give me a hell yeah. It's not the best thing to say after getting some candy. It's probably better to do the old patented thank you very much.
Yeah. It was funny on that one. We went to thank you after that, but it was good. But hey, thank you for your time. I appreciate being on with you. Likewise, been a fan of yours for a long time. I play Reno, Vegas, LA, all that. Whenever I make it out that way, I'll let you know.
Absolutely. Sounds good, Cody.
All right, Steve. Thanks, man. Have a good rest of the day.
Let's give it up for Geico for supporting the Steve Austin Show for all these years. In just 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Geico has been offering great rates and great service for over 75 years. And anytime you need help, you can speak to one of their trained specialists 24/7. Go to geico.com and start saving cash. Extra money in your pocket? It may just be the most rewarding thing you do today. All right, everybody, give me the go-home cues. Time to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset. But before I do that, I want to thank my guest, Cody Jinks, for being on the show today. Skype telephone conversation is not always the best connection, but we made the best with what we had and shot the breeze. And I wanted to help Cody get the word out because I love both these albums and I really love his music. So check it out if you've never heard of him, or if you like country music, or if you like good music in general. Give Cody's stuff a try because it's a whole different brand, and he's got his own style. He's got his own thing going, and I dig it. The new albums, once again, if you want to purchase them on iTunes like I did, are After the Fire and The Wanting. But don't sleep on Less Wise. That's or I'm Not the Devil or Adobe Sessions. I'll shut up about it. Hey, don't forget to rate and review the Steve Austin Show on Apple Podcasts and tell your friends to check us out. If you want to reach me here on the podcast, send an email to question@steveaustonshow.com. And by the way, if you send me a question, everybody's asking where you can get Broken Skull IPA from El Segundo Brewing Company. And you can get it at Whole Foods or Total Wines if you live in Cali. We're all over the place. We just made our way out to the East Coast in Massachusetts, New York, and New Jersey. So check out the El Segundo website and look on the interactive map to find a location near you that sells it. Get it while you can. It's selling out fast. King of Attitude shirts are available now at Pro Wrestling Tees store. And check out ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve Austin for those shirts, along with all of my other Broken Skull Ranch apparel. I want to say thank you to all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show, especially 21 Bridges, WWE 2K20, Zorro.com, Geico, and BetOnline.ag. That's how I'm able to do this podcast for you twice a week for free. Please support them because they support us. If you need more info on my sponsors, check out the show description to this episode for details. Folks, I am on social media, Twitter and Instagram, at Steve Austin BSR. And if you see me out in the woods, you will see me sitting on a Kawasaki, and that's the bottom line. Until next time, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.